Welcome, this is Wheels from the Lowlands, the best in motorsports from Netherlands and Belgium. The Lowlands, we have high-level motorsports, both off-road as on the racing tracks. Wheels from the Lowlands.
This is Mike Velthuijzen, European Supermono champion. He's very hands-on because he prepares his own engines, like this Yamaha XT660 engine. Standard has about 39 horsepower, and now, says Mike, we have managed to make it into an absolute missile with 95 horsepower. On tracks like Spa in Belgium, it can do about 240 kilometers per hour as top speed. Let's have a closer look at the engine. First of all, the cylinder head, says Mike. Second hand, it should cost you about €100, and this is what we did to it. This is the cylinder head of the championship-winning Yamaha that Mike wrote to that European Supermono Championship. Did a lot of tests, says Mike. And those tests proved to be very, very fruitful and very good.
Die we helemaal verbouwen. We hebben bijvoorbeeld het raceblok testen met natte koppelingen, met droge koppelingen.
We did a lot of tests, says Mike, with the clutches, dry clutch and a wet clutch. This is the slipper clutch.
2 jaar lang ondersteund door TSS.
TSS is the sponsor of Mike as far as the clutches are concerned.
Dit bedenken we, dit ontwikkelen we.
And he worked together with TSS. And he did a lot of development work for the clutch manufacturer as well.
Dit formaat. We vrezen hier zelf
then the engine and the crankcase. Special crankcase made by Mike.
Goed bij elkaar te houden. Want het is een bijna 800 cc Supermono.
It used to be a 660 engine and now it's almost 800 cc's, says Mike. So we needed a new and a different gearbox, which was developed by us as well.
Assen draaien we voor en de rest laten we bij een collega-bedrijf maken van nou, zo en zo willen we dat hebben.
Velthuijzen uses a close ratio gearbox,
op verschillende circuits, elk circuit
and every track we use a different gearbox, says Velthuijzen, and by doing that, by using those, we have to rebuild the engine completely.
Etcetera te komen. Mijn hele racecarrière word ik al eigenlijk ondersteund door Prox.
I also work together with Prox, says Mike, and for Prox I also do a lot of development work. Look at this piston. This is a relatively standard and old school piston, says Mike, but because of the extra performance that we have here, we need special pistons.
Noem maar op. Het uiteindelijke resultaat is dit. Dit is een speciale slipperzuiger.
And this is a special so-called slipper piston, and we were one of the first teams to use these slipper pistons. And now these pistons are available for hobby riders and for racers as well.
Kan zoiets kopen en wij rijden daarmee in de Supermono. Vliegwielen maken we zelf.
We make our own flywheels as well, says Mike. This is the crankcase, crankshaft of course, from a Yamaha Raptor quad. And we work together with Carello from the States. And for these crankshafts, we developed our own conrods, a steel conrod, because the standard conrods were not strong enough, and we can do about a whole season with these conrods. They will survive for about all the races in one season. A lot of modifications to this crankshaft done by us and developed by us, says Mike Velthuijzen. We also work together with Intrax suspension. Also, we do a lot of development work for them.
Dat is een nieuw versie.
And because of all the development work that we did, these shots are available for other clients, other customers and other riders as well.
Hobbyrijder of circuitrijder. Deze is ook klaar. Nou, wat we hier doen, hier stellen we de
Mike was working on a Supermono
volledige motorfiets testbank.
bike, this KTM,
Een compleet motorblok op.
and Velthuijzen says that he did a lot of preparation on this engine, and says, Mike, I don't just do road racing bikes, but also supermoto bikes and also quads. And we try and provide a good setting for the engine and make sure that the riders have a good setup when they go to the track. We have a test bench for engines, but also for complete bikes and quads. And this is where we do the, says Mike, finishing touch. There's a lot of possibilities, there's a lot of things we can do to make sure that the engine and the complete bike gets better and better. And we have quite a few riders in the Dutch Supermoto Championship, like Joshua Das. He was second in the Dutch Championship in his first year, so he's a very promising rider. And some other riders in the Dutch Supermoto class, says Mike Velthuijzen. Unfortunately, our riders have good results.
Nou, zoals je ziet hebben wij bij Crossblock Revisie een aardige walhalla aan machines.
A lot of
simpel apparaat, niet voor andere mensen, een draaibank.
Things that we can use to get the bikes better, of course.
Om iets simpels te laten zien, de kleinste dingetjes.
And we make a lot of our stuff ourselves, like the footrests that I use on my bike. These are handmade by us, because these are the way that I want them.
Om op te staan bij de Supermono.
On the 22nd of March, the Dutch MX1 and MX2 Championship will start in 2015. And one of the riders is, of course, Mark de Reuver. He won the championship in 2014, and we spoke to him as a Honda rider, of course, and this is Mark de Reuver. He will turn 32 in this month, and Mark talks about his first Dutch championship. He was 15 then, and his first race was in Gemert, a sandy track, and he says, I'm 32 years old now, so it's 17 years ago when I rode my first MX2 championship in the Netherlands. And he's switching more or less to beach racing. You might remember that a couple of weeks ago he rode in Le Touquet, led the race for about 50 meters and then crashed heavily. And we also spoke to Mark about that crash in that French beach race.
Ging eigenlijk goed. De start was met een elastiek.
And he says my start was fairly okay in Le Touquet.
Maar ik stond eigenlijk te ver van het elastiek af.
But I lost
elastiek gaat los.
quite a few meters in that first lap.
Voor mijn neus, dus ik moest daar voorzichtig
So after the first lap, I was about 23rd or 24th behind Steve Ramon, the Belgian rider, of course. And I thought being behind him, that should be safe. And together we passed a few riders, and there was sort of a traffic jam, and Steve was fast past the back markers, and so was I. And then I saw Jentel Martens, who was leading the race, but I didn't know that. And I passed him.
Eigenlijk gebeurde er
And
niet
what
veel.
happened then is a little bit strange, says De
En
Reuver.
dit en dat. Nou, ik kan je vertellen, in die eerste 1,5 ronde heb ik
I
geen
didn't
10
do
seconden
anything
geen
strange in that
seconde
first
aangeraakt. Dus het ging hartstikke goed
lap and
eigenlijk.
a half.
En wat gebeurde nou? Ik trok het voorwiel
I
op voor de
tried
bult.
to get over a
En
bump,
mijn voet bleef
and
in het
my
zand
foot
haken.
stuck
Dat is
in
heel
the,
veel
got
zand.
stuck in the sand.
En ik
I
vloog
lost
even
the
weg en ik
balance
viel om.
and I crashed.
Dus er was nog niks aan
The
de
crash
hand. maar
wasn't
helaas
really
kwam
that
Jentel
bad,
Martens, die kwam
but
achter
then
me aan en ja, die
I
deed
was
natuurlijk
hit
ook alles
by
om mij te
Jentel
ontwijken.
Martens
Voor te- anders had
and
ik
I was
bovenop
knocked out
gesprongen.
by him.
Maar Jentel raakte net met zijn voetstep en zijn achterbrug en achterwiel de zijkant van mijn helm op mijn slaap. Ja, dan ga je gewoon knock-out.
Mark de Reuver, winner of quite a few Dutch Championship, a winner also of MX2 and MX1 Grand Prix. And this year he will try and defend his MX1 title in the Netherlands. And he says, well, saying that I will go for the top 5 would be a little bit ridiculous. I'm very sorry to see and to hear that Glenn Goldenhoff will not ride every MX1 race.
Ja, dat staat natuurlijk wel met alle respect voor de andere reis.
Because having him in the championship would be a lot better, but unfortunately Goldenhoff decided not to ride every race of the Dutch Championship due to other commitments.
Ik ben heel blij dat Gemert weer op
Talking
de
about
planning
that
staat.
first race of the
Dat
season
wou ik dus
in
net zeggen. Ik heb
Gemert.
het liefst 7 van zulke banen.
And Mark de Reuver says,
Dat ligt mij wel
I'm
goed.
happy to have
En,
that
zo
race back on the
moeilijk
calendar as the first
En ik
race
vind-
of the season.
Mijn
It's a
gevoel zegt
difficult
dat-
and
mijn
sandy track,
allereerste ONK was in Gemert.
and
toen
I
ik
wish
15
all the
jaar
tracks would be like that,
En,
says de Reuver.
Ja,
Going
mijn
back
gevoel
to
zegt dat is de opener van het
17
seizoen
years
altijd
ago, that
geweest.
was
En
my
dan
first
vind ik
race,
zo
my
blij
very
van.
first
Gemert is
race,
Gemert
and I think it should stay like that.
Ja, ik kijk er naar
The
uit.
start of the season in Gemert, says de Reuver. That brings back good memories. The Dutch HSF Logistics Motorsport team will make its full-time debut in the MX2 World Championship with 3 riders this year. Brian Bogers from the Netherlands, Kelvin Vlaanderen from South Africa, and from Latvia it's Robert Justs. The team has got a few years experience in the European MX2 class and now will make its debut in the World Championship class. And they will ride all 18 races. And we spoke to Brian Bogers, Robert Just and mechanic Nout Aerts.
Our team is just the perfect team. It's just top team. So it's everything is good, and I like it very much. So I think expectations for GPs could be like top 15, top 10. I think it's possible.
This is mechanic Nout Aerts, who says that working as a mechanic is not really a 9-to-5 job. It's hard work, and it's important to have a good atmosphere within the team. The team spirit has to be good, says Nout Aerts. And of course you have to be motivated as a mechanic yourself as well. This is Brian Bogers, he's 18 years old, and he said at first I looked up to the other riders, but now I've realized that they are also, like me, just human, and the guy who is fastest wins the races and becomes champion, says Brian Bogers. I'm a little more experienced now, says Bogers, and I feel confident that I will have a good season. We move on to Spain, where the HSF Logistics Motorsports team are testing to get ready for the start of the championship in Qatar. Now Aerts talks about this testing session in Malaga in Spain, where they are working together with two-time world champion John van den Berg to get the riders ready and of course to get the bikes ready. Also included is a 2-day session with WP, the suspension manufacturer. This is 18-year-old Brian Bogers. Like I said, he was second in the MX2 European champion in 2014, and he was third in the Dutch championship behind Romain Febvre and Alexander Tonkov. And Bogus says, sometimes I have a little difficulty to get back into a rhythm after I've had a period of rest, but that is getting better and better as well. Training is going good, and John van den Berg is working hard to get us ready for Qatar, and he's doing a good job. The team are convinced that Brian Bogus has the mentality and the qualities and the capabilities of getting into the top 10 after a few years' experience in the World Championship. So they've offered him a multi-deal contract to provide him the rest and also the team structure which is needed for a young rider to improve and to grow as a rider. This is Robert Justs. He's almost 22 years old. He's got a few years experience in the MX2 class in the World Championship. He was 23rd in 2014, and now he is hoping to get into the top 15 or maybe even top 10.
We're gonna train by John van den Berg in Spain, Malaga. Always good weather and tracks, so I think it's best preparation is there. So, and also we're gonna do 3 races, 1 in Spain and 2 in Italy before the Qatar GP, so I think I'm gonna be ready for Qatar.
And this is Calvin Vlaanderen. Like Brian Bogus, he's 18 years old. He's from South Africa, riding with a Dutch license. And he was 8th in last year's MX2 European Championship, and he won a heat in the Belgian round in Lommel. Unfortunately, here in Spain, Vlaanderen got injured. He injured his elbow, but the team are confident that under the guidance of John van den Berg and with the team, he will turn into a top 10 rider. This is Nout Aerts, and what does he think will be possible for the Dutch rider within the team, Brian Bogus? And Nout Aerts says, I think it's possible for him to grow, of course, and that is what we want. It's impossible also to say which position will be his, but we hope that he will grow within the season, within the team, and during the season, I should say. And let's go for it, says Nout Aerts. So the first Grand Prix for the team, of course, the Grand Prix of Qatar, also live here at Motors TV.
Yeah, I mean, it feels really good to be, finally a Formula One driver and having your own car that you don't need to share it with someone, basically. So yeah, I mean, it's always a dream, and once the dream came true, and now you finally start your first season, you can't wait. Really, it hasn't really bothered me that much, to be the youngest rookie and whatever. But it's just, you focus on your job and you try to do it in the best possible way. Yeah, like Carlos and me, it's about our first season, so that will be interesting. Carlos has proven he's a very fast driver, so I think it will be an interesting year. For me, it doesn't really matter, about the families behind us. His dad was very successful in rallying, and my dad, he had an F1 career. So it's two different disciplines, but I think it's always, they helped us a lot in our careers, to become the drivers we are right now. So yeah, for sure we have to thank them a lot, and it's nice to see them around. The 2015 car, of course the nose looks a bit better already, so I'm happy with that. And yeah, I mean the aerodynamics change, every year, so yeah, it feels really good. Challenges for the team, I think, is to manage two rookie drivers. It's normally you only have one, and now you start with two very young drivers. So, but I think they have proven to do it in a very successful way. So I think they will handle it very well. Well, of course, physically it's one of the hardest challenges in F1. So. I had a winter to prepare myself, so hopefully it was good enough. But on one hand, I can understand. They don't want to go younger and younger all the time, so they have to set a rule at one point where you're allowed to jump in. But yeah, I'm happy that. The rule came, after me, so I had the chance to drive the F1 car already. For me, it doesn't really matter. They just made a new rule, and for me, it's not a Verstappen rule. I don't know yet. Normally I was not very nervous before a start or like a new season, but this is different. It's F1. It's always your dream to get there, and then you are on the grid between the big names. So I'll see. I think a bit excited, but on the other hand, you want to race and beat all the other drivers. So I think it's a bit of adrenaline as well. Once you're there, you just want to go. Well, for me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you have to deal with it, and to be honest, it doesn't really bother me. You just focus on your job, really. So, well, they can talk to me about my age, and I think I will get like 1 million questions a year. So it's okay. It's difficult to say. I think the improvement is made just by experience, the new car, and getting used to how to drive an F1 car, because it's quite different to an F3 car. In terms of speed, I don't know, it's difficult to say. But yeah, mainly it's just get used to the team and work around the car better and try to understand all the bits of the car. I think at the end that will make you a faster driver.